The following is a Shaw TV Public Affairs presentation. Constituency Report is produced as a public service by members of the BC Legislature through the facilities of Shaw TV.
Hello, and welcome to Constituency Report. I'm Kelly Fram, and joining me in the studio today is Marc Dalton, MLA for Maple Ridge Mission. It's great having you in the studio today, Marc. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here.
So it's a great time to have you in the studio because the spring session just wrapped up, and there's been so much going on that we have to talk about. And I know healthcare is one of your top priorities as MLA for Maple Ridge Mission, and that you care so much about the Mission Memorial Hospital. Can you tell us any exciting news from there?
Well, Mission Memorial is one of the success stories that I've seen since being elected in 2009, because a number of years ago there was protests, a lot of concern about it closing down slowly. There was talk about closing the emergency ward, but since then the emergency ward did not close, but we've invested tens of millions of dollars into it. Seen a couple new buildings. One is a health center. It's a prototype for the entire Fraser Valley, and the other one is called the residence. It's for complex care needs and for people with brain injuries. So big investments and things have really turned around there. It's a great story.
That's great to hear. And I heard the hospital also just designated a sacred space. Can you tell us what this is about?
Yeah, actually, just going before I talk about that, I should mention that at Mission Memorial, I got together with Executive Director Valerie Spurl. She's new on the job, and she told me that the number of employees have gone up in the past number of years from about 158 to 235, so a significant increase. She also said that there's going to be a number of beds. Acute care beds is going from 26 to 32 with 8 more staff. So that's good news at that hospital. Ridge Meadows Hospital that's in Maple Ridge, and I've been there a number of times lately. I have a family member that's ill, and just do want to say thank you to all the nurses and staff and doctors, great professional staff, and really do care. And the sacred space is people from it's open for people from all faiths. And it is there in recognition that caring for patients it's fine to give medication and procedures and operations, and that's really important, but also there's the emotional side and the spiritual side. And so that's making room for that, for people to be able to receive strength.
That's so good to hear. And I've also heard that there are some changes coming to the way people get their medication for Hep C. Can you tell us about these changes?
Yeah, actually, about a year or so ago, I met with someone from the community that is suffering from Hep C. He got it through blood transfusion, and so his life, he was told that he has just maybe 3 to 5 years to live. And anyways, we discussed about these new medications that have come on stream. And I talked to the minister about a year ago about this, and also Darryl Lester with Pacific Hep C, and there's been advocacy for this new medication. It's quite expensive. It's about $80,000 or more. And anyways, the Ministry of Health is now funding this for Hep C users. So that's for Hep C, people are suffering from Hep C, and about a third of people don't even realize that they have Hep C. So it's very important. It's able to cure about 90% of people. It's expensive, but it's over a few weeks, and it makes a big difference. So this is good news from the Ministry of Health, and I know that this person I know was overjoyed when he told me about that they said that he would be able to receive this medication.
That is absolutely fantastic news. And I know that you are a huge lover of the outdoors and that you encourage people to go out and explore all the great parks we have around our province. And that you were just recently at the opening for one of the Mill Creek bridges. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was announced a couple years ago, but it takes time to build. There was 6 new bridges that were opened as part of a trail system in Maple Ridge. Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, Mission's a beautiful area for, and BC, actually, for getting outside. And so there's a great network of trails. The Haney Horsemen have been involved with these trails also, and they developed about 55 kilometers of trail. And it's so this was an investment of about $170,000 that was put into these bridges, and there's other trail systems that are being developed also.
Yeah, I heard about some of those. Another one you were involved in was the Golden Ears Bridge. Is that correct?
Yeah, Golden Ears Park has about over 600,000 people that come to there every year, and it's highly used. And there's the Gold Creek is part of the park, and so there's a bridge that has been built between the two, so people can cross if they want to go and climb up the Golden Ears Mountain. So that's great to see. I've been part of something called Experience of Fraser since 2009, and working with various communities, with the First Nations, with non-government agencies in order to develop the trail systems between Hope and the ocean. It's called coast to canyon, canyon to coast trail system. So it's just been a great project to work with. One of the demonstration projects is Derby Reach, and that's in Langley. And I was talking to some people actually a lady from on the council with Langley, and mentioned there's about 700,000 people going to that park now every year. So it's been a great success. And there's now a trail system going from the Fort Langley, from the old fort, right along the south side of the Fraser, crossing over the Golden Ears Bridge, right up to Colony Farms into Coquitlam. So my wife and I were actually walking on part of that last night, and really enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, it must be a beautiful view out there.
It is.
And we're really lucky in BC to have access to all this great hydroelectric power, but a lot of our facilities are aging, in need of repair and upgrades. And I understand you recently paid a visit to the Ruskin Dam. Can you tell us what's going on out there?
Yeah, Ruskin Dam is our oldest dam in operation, built in 1930. And so it needed seismic upgrading. So myself, the Minister of Energy, Bill Bennett, last year, and I think Simon Gibson also toured it. And again, I toured it with the MLA Doug Bing about a week or so ago. And there's been some big changes in the past year. It's a project that's about $750 million. It will provide the energy for about 33,000 homes. So I was really impressed with what they're doing there. They're very careful with noise, mitigation of noise, and also dust. It's just, in the old days when they're doing in construction site, there would be dust all over and very loud. But here it was really good. And also they kept the old facade. It looks like still from the 1930s, but they were careful to maintain that. And of interest is they also are doing everything they can to. There is a light bulb in this dam in the power station that's been operating since for the past 85 years. So they're going to make sure that keeps on lighting up the dam, not the whole dam, but the rooms. So it's been there for quite a few years. Wish my light bulbs lasted that long.
Yeah, don't we all?
Even a few.
It'd be a lot better for the environment too.
Yeah, no.
And I know that you're a big booster and promoter of the local economy in Maple Ridge and Mission. Can you tell us what sorts of issues are important to you right now?
Well, first of all, I think the overall economy is important, and we benefit from a strong economy in British Columbia. And that obviously businesses, small business corporations are really the drivers in that, but government do make a difference. And so the BC Liberal government and Premier Christy Clark have really provided the platform for business and the economy to grow on. And that's in things such as maintaining our surplus budget. And that means it's been a lot of belt tightening, and it's been tough, but that's been important because it's meant that we can provide more services. Also, maintaining a AAA credit rating has been important. So it boosts confidence. Businesses understand that they're in a safe, that their taxation levels are not going up, and so keeping it actually quite low, and so that encourages them to expand, to employ, and when companies, they're not laying off people, but they're holding people. They feel more secure in buying houses and paying for new furniture or cars, and so all that helps the economy. So our economy is growing, is projected to grow the fastest for the next 3 years in all Canada, about 3%, 3.1% this year, and 3.2% next year. So it's very positive as far as British Columbia and leading the way here in Canada. So.
Yeah, and I know a big economic driver right now is Petronas. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on with Petronas in BC and what we can expect in the future?
Well, LNG has been an important focus that the government has had, and obviously came out in the last election. The oil prices have, been reduced by about 50%, impacted the prices, all over the market. But nevertheless, we're still moving forward. Petronas has said that they do want to continue, come to a final investment decision based on a couple of things, and one of them is getting some legislation through, taxation legislation, and so we're expecting that the House will probably be called back in the middle of summertime, second and third week, or third and fourth week of July. So that's really positive, because it would mean invest thousands of more jobs up in the northwest sector, and spin-offs throughout the province, and it's a $36 billion project. So it's the biggest project ever in British Columbia's history. So great news, and we're really, fingers crossed, that we've been working very hard on this, but to see this move forward.
Yeah, hopefully we can see some results this
Yes.
summer.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the local economy and some startups that you have there, and I've heard that you have a high-tech startup called Left of the Dot. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, Mission, the new bridges have been really instrumental in drawing new businesses in the economy. The Real Estate Weekly has said that Maple Ridge is the number 5 top community for investment in all of Canada, number 2 in British Columbia. One of the reasons is that we have probably over half of the potential industrial space. So that is laid out for industrial startups and businesses. So that's great, and it's a real future as far as business in Maple Ridge, and it's attracting businesses. And Left of the Dot is a tech company that actually moved from Vancouver, and it employs 18 people, mainly from Maple Ridge there, and also another 50 or 60 in Bangladesh. So it's in domains and website development.
So quite a big local driver for the economy one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I know that also in Maple Ridge Mission, you work so closely with the First Nations population, being Métis yourself.
Yep.
And there was the official opening of the Catesy Health Center. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, I was with. There was actually a good turnout that day, maybe a couple hundred people, and I believe there's a picture we'll be seeing with myself with Chief Susan Miller, and also Councillor Willie Pierre, who is with cultural teachings. And this is a multi-million-dollar facility. Has offices for health professionals, and it's also got a large gym, and commercial kitchen. So that's a great health facility, keep you healthy. And I think it'd be really good for drawing the community together, and even for leasing it out, or for having events, not only for the Catesy First Nations, but also for the community at large. So it's really good news. And Catesy is, they're located in Pitt Meadows, also in Langley, and in Traditional Territory, also in Maple Ridge. So.
That's absolutely fantastic news to hear. But unfortunately, we do have to take a quick break on Constituency Report. Grab some pen and paper, because we're going to put up Marc Dalton's contact information, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Constituency Report. We're in the studio today with Marc Dalton, MLA for Maple Ridge Mission. So, getting back to some local issues, Marc, I've heard that you have a controversial plan in Maple Ridge Mission for a large-scale marijuana grow operation, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, sure.
And we have a photo of you with a loudspeaker. Can you tell us what's happening? Because this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, there's been it's a medicinal marijuana proposal. Actually, it's more than a proposal. It's been built, or it's under construction. And so the residents in Wannock, which is in central Maple Ridge, kind of more of a rural area, have been very concerned about this for different reasons, but primarily because of water issues. It's an area where people's wells grow dry every single year, and so they are very concerned about how this is going to impact their own availability to get water. So I actually presented a petition on behalf of the community, about 1,300 names, supporting, for this against this facility. And so for me, my job is to just engage. And so they were having a demonstration, and so they did invite me. So I went over there and just responded to questions, and about about what's happening, about the legislation. There is. When I heard about this, so when there was a rally, not a rally, but a meeting in the community, maybe 200 or 300 people meeting, I heard about this, and then the next day I actually met with the Minister of Environment, Minister of Natural Lands and Forests and Resources, also with Minister of Agriculture, just trying to get the legislation and the different I wouldn't say conditions or framework that this facility can operate in, and doing everything I can to assist the residents. So this is important for me, just as far as engaging with the community, whether it be with large-scale issues like this or one-on-one with individuals.
Well, it's great to hear that you're working so closely with your community. And I know that you're really passionate about working and promoting our armed forces and have a deep connection to all of our veterans. Can you tell us a little bit about your background with the armed forces?
Yeah, well, my dad was in the military, Royal Canadian Air Force, and so he was in for 36 years. I was in the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves after graduating from high school. So it's always been important to me, and I've always been aware of the military, and I think that it's really important to honor our veterans. I've been in different meetings, well, even the past month, different events with our veterans. I believe we have a picture coming up with Ray and Mildred Ward, and Ray was a paratrooper with the Airborne Regiment, and he landed on D-Day. And so he's 90 years old, and he fought in the Second World War. And it was interesting. We were conversing about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he stayed in the military for some years, and found out that he lived in Germany exactly when I was there, at the same base. It was 4-wing, which is Baden-Suligen, and so he was a drill sergeant at that time, and my dad was stationed there, and so yeah. So it's interesting how you can find the connections. And I find that a lot of times with military families, you can say, "Oh, what base were you at?" and there's a lot of interesting connections. So really appreciate what he's done, and so many thousands and hundreds of thousands of others of our military forces have done. And also this year was the 70th anniversary of VE, which is a victory in Europe. We just celebrated that, and VJ, which is a victory in Japan, will be happening in August. So it's important not to forget these things, because our freedoms, there was a cost to that.
Oh, how could you ever forget VE Day? It's one of the most important in the history of our world right now, I think. And I know that you have another very special veteran that you spoke about recently in the legislature, Albert Wells, and he received a very special award. Can you tell us about this? Yeah,
so Albert Wells also fought in Normandy and throughout France, and he's turning 100 years old this year. But he received the knighthood of the Legion of Honor. It's the highest French the award from France to be given out, and so we have our own knight in mission. So yeah, congratulations to Albert. I was glad to be involved in the presentation ceremony with him.
That's so incredible that you have a knight living in your district, your own knight in shining armor.
No armor.
No armor?
But, yeah, well, maybe he has some armor, but that didn't. He didn't come out with his suit of armor. No.
Well, I can't blame him. It's been pretty hot lately. And so Mission is also home to the Zajac Children's Ranch, and this is a charitable foundation. But what is it that they do?
Well, actually, today one of the reasons I'm in Victoria for this filming, but also today is the Order of BC. The ceremonies for the Order of BC, and you were there also with filming.
Yes,
So,
I was.
yeah. So Mel Zajac received the Order of BC, and he is. Him and his wife are just have done such a tremendous work for children. Both their children died within months of each other from a sports accident, and so they gave themselves their lives to be able to support children with disability, and have been involved with seeing millions of dollars of fund raised to support children. And probably they've had many accomplishments, but probably the biggest one is Zajac Ranch, which we'll see a picture of. And this is a ranch in my constituency in Mission off of Stave Lake, which is there to support children with disabilities. And so thousands of kids have benefited from this. We have children with all types of disabilities, spina bifida or whatever type of disabilities. And they got, and there's so many volunteers that help out also. Anyways, congratulations to Mel for a well-deserved award.
Yeah, big congratulations. That's a huge honor, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like he absolutely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are probably some people at home who are a little bit confused why at the bottom of the screen it says you're an independent MLA right now. Could you tell us about why you chose to sit as an independent?
Yeah, so I've been an independent since the beginning of this year, and that doesn't mean, I will state categorically that I fully support Premier Kirsty Clark and the BC Liberals. I've throughout the session, I voted along with the government on all the bills, all the votes, and I'm fully supportive of the BC Liberal Party and the Premier. But what happened is that our Member of Parliament, Randy Camp, announced that he'd be retiring at the end of this session federally, and so the federal politics has been something that's been on my mind for many years. I actually ran years ago for a federal seat in Burnaby, New Westminster, and that was before I got elected provincially. So it has been on my mind, and I thought that I thought he'd be another 4 more years before he retired, but he has announced it now. So I put my name forward, and in so doing, I became an independent, just a recognition that the BC Liberals are a coalition of Conservatives and Liberals. So if I'm not successful in the nomination, I will rejoin the BC Liberals. So I'm hoping to be successful.
So you're still part of the family?
I'm still part of the family, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so as an independent, like you said, you've still been supporting the Liberals, and I know that you've supported an issue or a piece of legislation that supports independent schools. Can you tell us about this legislation?
Well, for about 2.5, 3 years, I was Parliamentary Secretary for Independent Schools, and really working on behalf of independent schools. Now, the interesting thing is I'm a public school teacher by profession. I worked as a teacher for 15 years. But we have a BC education system that has both public and independent schools and students. There's about 81,000 independent school students. And so one issue that has come out, and which I've worked on quite a bit, a lot of meetings, was there's some locations that were beginning to tax independent schools. And people sometimes get the false notion that it's just for the wealthy, these schools. And there are some schools that are very university prep schools. They actually receive significantly less funding than other independent schools. But many of them are just, its budget is very, very tight, and the salaries are, can be significantly less in the interior and northern parts of the province. So some of the communities were starting to tax, and so this has never been done before, and it could put actually some schools under, and it was something that was a concern to me, and I was pleased to see that the government did introduce a bill to restrict that and to make sure that the independent schools enjoy the same taxation policy as the public school systems do. So it would be on their playing fields and their playgrounds and parking. So anyways, that's good, and it still has to work its way through legislation in order to be passed.
Okay, so it hasn't quite passed yet.
Yeah, it's first reading, and then it will be continued later on in the next session.
Okay, and you said you used to be a public school teacher. I know everybody's going to wonder, what did you teach?
I taught social studies, and I did teach French.
Oh.
Yeah. And I taught at high school, and I taught at elementary, so a variety of things.
Yeah, you've done all the ages, haven't you?
I have, actually, yeah.
And
I've enjoyed it.
I hate saying this, but you've had some very sad news recently. Your assistant at the legislature passed away.
Yep.
And I know that he was so well known around here and that everybody liked him. Could you tell us what made him so special and why this is such a huge loss for the community?
Rod Deacon, great guy, and he died a couple weeks ago, suddenly of a heart attack, and it really was a shocker for all of us, for myself. I mean, one day you're with him, the next day he's gone, and I know that he was a person that gave to others, that was there to help, both in legislature, in communications, but also he had in the community involvement. He was really involved with dogs, with dog clubs. He was the president, and he started off as a Parliament Hill columnist back in the 80s, and so has a long experience. And I really leaned on him. He was my communications, my research, my legislative assistant, all of that here in Victoria. So, a real significant loss, and I want to express my condolences to his partner, Marilyn, and the entire family, and all those that do care about him. And so sad to see him leave. And I know he did my last constituency report, and Kelly, I appreciate that you coming in and doing this today.
Yeah, well, I wish it was under happier circumstances, because I remember him. He was such a warm, genuine fellow. So a little bit of a happier note just to end the show.
Okay.
What's your favorite part about being an MLA, Marc?
Well, I really enjoy just working on issues with that. A lot of the things I work on, that I bring forward, the projects, are really visions of other people, or needs of other people, or organizations. So it's taking what a community needs, individual needs, and working on that. So I've been pleased to be able to see a lot of successes and to do that, and I want to continue to do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today, Marc. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Kelly.
And thank you for watching the Constituency Report on Shaw TV.